Alright, well, let's get it started.
Alright.
I'm gonna take a drink first, actually.
Professional.
I got a feeling when I start talking, my voice is gonna crack or something. And be like, oh, he's still going through puberty. Wow.
It's like, hi guys!
Hi, everybody! Alright.
We all go a little mad sometimes. Haven't you?
They could be anybody's. Nobody trusts anybody now. And we're all very tired.
Put the bat down.
Stop it!
Give me the bat.
Please! Billy!
Give me the bat.
Stop it!
Give me the bat.
Please!
Stop swinging the bat.
Wait, stop!
Give me the bat.
Billy!
Ready?
Stop!
Give me the bat.
Stop!
Give me the bat.
Oh, God damn it!
What's up, everybody who may be listening to this podcast? This is episode number 6 of the M.V.M horror podcast. Of course, as always, I am your host, Mr. Austin Schroyer, joined by my wonderful friend, Miss Carly. So, how the heck are you?
I am doing pretty good. Pretty well, I should say. Just finally recorded the 72 show with 22 shots, so I don't have to watch 72 movies anymore.
Woohoo!
And I've been pretty hype. Like yesterday, took a day off work and just watched 3 random movies, and I just felt alive. It was nice. So of course that won't last long. I am doing their next show too, but that's 85. Never mind.
Oh, spoiler alert.
Yeah. Well, actually, that will probably be out anyway by the time this comes out, I would assume.
Okay, I don't think it really matters, but
It really freaking doesn't. But anyway, I'm good. I just kind of been chilling. Haven't been really up to much of anything exciting, I would say. But how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, I've been keeping up on trying to get a good head start for 2019 movies. Usually around this time of year I have maybe 10 or 11 watches, but now I have, I think, 32 now for this year. So, yeah, just trying to keep a good head start, because usually what happens is I wait till like the last 3 months, 2 or 3 months, to start really getting into them. I watch like 40, 50 movies or something like that, and by the end of it, I'm just like, yeah, I never want to watch another movie ever again.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to avoid that now. So yeah, so maybe I only have to watch maybe like 10 or 15 movies towards the end of the year.
That's definitely the smart thing to do. I mean, I will say this year I think it's the best run of me going to the theaters to see every horror movie or thriller or anything of that genre coming out theatrically. I did get the AMC Stubs thingy, which of course you could see 3 movies a week for $20 a month. So definitely been going to the theater, and I don't think, like JP and I, at least, I don't think we've missed a movie this year, where the previous years we have missed a few. So that alone has gotten my watches up to, I want to say, probably 20 at this point, which is all right. I would say that's probably a little better than I usually do. And besides that, I've only really checked out probably 3 or so things on streaming wise, so not doing too good with that. One thing is about trying to get a head start is, for one thing, I like to watch, as I just said, I like to have freedom in watching. There's a lot of classic movies that I haven't seen yet, and just some stuff I like to rewatch, so I like to kind of have that freedom and not focus all on new stuff. So there's that, and then also it's always kind of slow in the first half of the year, and a lot of times I just kind of wait for everything to build up, and I kind of wait for everyone to give their opinions on what to watch and what not to watch, and then, I end up doing what you said, waiting till freaking November and then wanting to cry and watch all these movies. But yeah, so, theatrical success for me, streaming not so much, but I'd say I'm probably doing a little better this year than usual.
Yeah, there really hasn't been anything like really. I mean, there's been a few like Netflix movies. Haven't really cared for any of them too much. And there's like a few ones on Shudder that are like foreign films that are like 2019 movies, because like this is the first like their time they're getting released in the U.S. But yeah, there hasn't been like really like any like Shudder original movies like we had like with Stillborn last year.
Yeah, and I'm really hoping that they kind of get on the ball with that and put out some cool stuff again this year as they did last year, because they did really good last year, and I feel like Netflix has kind of been dropping the ball as of last year and this year with just putting out a lot of generic, not so good stuff, because I remember last year I watched a lot of just crap off of Netflix kind of to build my numbers and to just see if it would actually turn out to be good, which probably only like 1 or 2 movies I watched on Netflix turned out to be better than I was expecting, and the rest were pretty either generic or just straight up trash. So Shudder's definitely where it's at for that, so hopefully they can come out with some more originals and things like that.
I think there are like 3 or 4 movies on Netflix that I really liked. I really liked, of course, Bird Box and Terrifier. Yeah, I always get that mixed up with Terrified, which came out on
Shudder.
Yeah. Yeah, those 2. The Ritual was really good. Veronica was good, although I didn't.
You didn't bend over backwards and vomit of blood while watching it.
Yeah, not quite. But yeah, those ones were good, and yeah, there really hasn't been any ones this year that impressed me. Velvet Buzzsaw was like it was just a long, boring movie.
Yeah, I forgot about that one. I didn't even bother checking it out because it was so long, and the massive majority of people said it wasn't that great.
Yeah, I know a lot of people say it's one of the most disappointing movies so far this year. Because, I mean, it has a great cast. I mean, I love Jake Gyllenhaal because, he's from, and Donnie Darko, of course, one of my favorite movies of all time. And Nightcrawler a couple years ago was phenomenal, probably my top 25 or so non-horror movies.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I he definitely couldn't save the movie. It was just a bit of a drag to get through. And then what the hell is that one movie we just watched on Netflix?
The Mercy Black one?
No, not Mercy Black. That's another one that was on Netflix, and I really didn't care for that one.
The Perfection.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Yeah, some people were, really praising that movie, but yeah, about 2/3 of the movie, I'd say it's pretty good, and then the last third really drops the ball, and kind of ruins the rest of the movie a little bit. Just because it's like you look back on it, it's like, oh, since that's what happened, that makes no sense. So it's yeah, kind of goes off the rails there on the last bit.
Yeah, I was definitely shocked to see so many people speaking really highly of that one. Pretty much everyone was saying good things about it, besides you. Like, I remember reading a comment section and everyone was kind of saying it was great and they loved all the twists and stuff, but I just thought it was a little over the top. I told JP we should do it on Netflix and chill if that happens or not. Who knows? But, yeah, spoiler alert, I really didn't care for it too much. It wasn't a bad movie, but
No.
it just got way too over the top with its twists.
Yeah, I have a feeling like a lot of people just kind of were like along for the ride,
Hmm.
and were just like, oh wow, that's a twist, another twist, another twist, wow, and didn't
We love our
really,
twists.
yeah, didn't really think about like what was actually going on, because if you really think about it towards the end, I mean, it's like, mm, it doesn't make any sense at all.
Hmm.
So I mean, and just the way, just the way it was kind of structured, I didn't really care for it. The way it kind of um, changes the type of film that it is, kind of a couple times, and I didn't care for that at all. It just didn't feel as effective as if they just would have stuck with one
Hmm.
simple thing and just rode with that. But yeah, I mean, it was alright. I mean, it was alright, but I just, it's definitely, I know one person said it was one of their favorite horror movies, like, in years, and yeah, definitely nowhere near that level, I don't think.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, it was all right. It's just like you said, half of it. The first half, I was with it. I really liked the plot, and then what they do with the second half of the plot, I'm like, I really didn't want to watch this type of story. So the twist does not work for me. But yeah, other than that, not really much else. I mean, I saw Ma in theaters. I definitely recommend that one to
Hmm.
people. That was definitely a good one. Saw Godzilla. I've mentioned before I didn't really care for it, but I've never seen any Godzilla film, so I know most Godzilla lovers thought it was just fantastic, so I can't really judge that one too much. But Ma, definitely recommend people checking that one out because it's pretty high on my list as of now.
Yeah, I like that one. I mean, yeah, it was pretty fun. I don't think wasn't as good to me as its movies of similar titles, Mama or Mother. But I enjoyed it. I mean, it's our second kind of crazy obsession movie that came out this year, and I think I like Greta a little bit more.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, it was pretty fun. So yeah, I'd definitely say it's worth a watch. I know some people were shitting on it, but I don't know. I don't think it deserves much hate. I think it was a pretty well made movie for the most part.
Hmm. Definitely.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it will start picking up here soon because we got a couple big releases this month. I know Annabelle 3 is this month, and I told you I just even by the trailers it keeps showing up. Man, I'm just not excited for it at all. Like I'm so done with those spin-off movies. Like I can't get excited for them anymore. Even for The Conjuring 3, I'm not gonna be that excited for it 'cause it's not James Wan.
Hmm.
But even if I love Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson, I mean, it's just despite judging by the trailers, I just don't think I'm gonna care for it that much. But
Yeah, like I know you're more passionate about the movies probably than me, but like even me, I'm pretty much over being excited for them. At first, when the movies first started coming out, I was really kind of hype on them, and I even like pretty much every movie besides Annabelle, and I guess you could count the freaking Curse of La Llorona or
yeah,
whatever, but barely. I mean, that one and Annabelle were pretty generic, and Annabelle's pretty bad too, to be honest. But the other films that you get in the universe, I think, are pretty good. A little scary movie. So I am curious to see what this new Annabelle movie is like. But I'm not like, oh, yay, another Annabelle movie, can't wait type of deal. But it's whatever.
yeah. I've told you like the only one spin-off maybe I like is The Nun,
Hmm.
which ironically is like like it was like almost universally hated. I know GP really liked
Yeah.
that movie. But yeah, that's like I just thought it was. I loved the setting. I loved like the mood and the atmosphere of it. And I thought it was the closest thing to The Conjuring. The rest of them are just generic jump scare movies, or in the case of Annabelle, just shitty. So yeah, I'm just not really excited. Of course, I'm gonna check it out, but I'm not really. My hopes aren't very high. So hopefully, with the bar being set, pretty low for me, hopefully, it can surprise me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we get Child's Play remake as well. Of course, I'm semi interested in that. It's
Yeah.
I'm not expecting something crazy good, but who knows?
Yeah, I think they're doing a good job of marketing it at least, and they're kind of making it fun for everybody. So I do appreciate that about it. And honestly, any remake I kind of get a little bit excited for, because at least it's a familiar topic, really, even
Yeah.
though some people get outraged. They're like, oh, they're remaking our favorite movie and this sucks. But for me, it's like I'm always down to see another movie for a franchise from the 80s type of thing, even if it is just a total remake and has nothing to really do with it. It's still coming from that content. I mean, I didn't really care for the Pet Sematary remake. I thought it was very forgettable. I didn't think it was a bad movie at all, but I thought it just didn't really do it for me. It didn't really add anything spectacular or anything like that. But I am definitely curious about this movie. It seems like they're at least trying something different, which I feel like you kind of have to with a movie like Child's Play. So
Yeah.
I am kind of excited to see that one, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, and the one I'm really excited for, I think, comes out beginning of next month, July. Midsommar. That's
Mm-hmm.
Ari Aster's new movie, of course, who directed Hereditary last year, which movie I kind of like. But yeah, hopefully when I go see that in theaters, hopefully it'll be a better experience than the last movie of his I saw in theaters. So
Yeah, I
can't
feel
be
like
any
this.
worse.
This one doesn't seem like it's as heavily like thrown in your face like Hereditary. You saw the trailer constantly every movie you went to see, and there was all this stuff saying it was going to be the scariest movie of all time. And this movie I actually keep forgetting about because I haven't really seen too many trailers even when going to the theaters. And the title alone just sounds kind of weird, and I feel like we might have a better chance of not running into a bunch of obnoxious kids, but you never know. You never know nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say, if you're a teenager, please don't go see that movie. Just stay at home. Just watch something else. I mean, it's just the way that the teens were reacting to Hereditary. It was just ridiculous.
I can't believe it's like I'm only 22 and I already hate teenagers.
For
And it's
real,
weird to
yeah.
think it's like we were just teenagers a few years ago.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's definitely, I never expected to be this bitter in my old age, but yeah, kids, I mean, I didn't really act this way when I went to theaters, but nowadays you got like 14, 15-year-olds. It's not even just little kids, it's like straight up teenagers who you would think would act mature. They just act foolish in the theater, and it's just very annoying and frustrating.
Yes, very much so. So, yeah, I think it will start picking up here soon. Of course, towards the end of the year, we got some movies to look forward to as well. So, yeah, I guess that is it for that little rant. And by the way, that glitch keeps happening again, where your voice shows
Ghost
up.
of Carly?
Yes, exactly. It's happened like
Oh
2 or
my
3
God.
times. I tried to ignore it, but it's just, I keep hearing it.
Yeah, I legit, that freaks me out, because it's literally just like a little blip, but it sounds like my tone of voice, and I don't understand.
It is your voice. Like,
Yeah.
it is 100% your voice.
And I'm sitting here not making any sound or talking or anything while you're talking, so I don't know. I don't get it, unless I have like some weird tick that I'm just not realizing.
Yeah. Well. Anyways, moving on from that. I guess we'll talk about why we are here right now, and that is, I guess, two movies that was your pickings. So, yeah, we have two. What was I gonna say? Okay, two movie-based slashers. That's the best way I can describe them because they're two slasher movies that have to do with movies and, different ways, I should say. They have, different ways of the killer killing people in these movies, I should say. Or the killer getting after them. But, yeah, we have Midnight Movie from 2008 and The Final Girls from 2015, I believe. I didn't even look that up. I just said that by memory. I think I'm right.
You are correct, actually.
Damn, I'm good.
Yeah, because I remember it being so hype. That was back when I first got into like the horror groups, and well, that's kind of when I first met JP, and I remember just him talking about it and seeing other people talk about it. So I always remember it came out in 2015.
All right, so I guess we shall start with the first movie that came out, and that is Midnight Movie from 2008, and the synopsis on IMDb says, a midnight showing of an early 1970s horror movie turns into chaos when the killer from the movie comes out of the film to attack those in the theater. Yeah, that's the basic gist of it. So, yeah, a group of teens in the theater, and a killer comes out of the movie and starts killing them. So this movie takes place pretty much all in the movie theater. So yeah, this was a first time watch for me, and really before you mentioned this to me about doing this episode, I'd never even heard of this movie. So yeah. So what were your thoughts on picking this?
Well, yeah, Midnight Movie, I'm pretty sure I was at FYE or something one day with JP or something, and he kind of recommended this because it was kind of when I started collecting Blu-rays, because I used to pretty much just collect DVDs and that was it. And so I decided to go ahead and pick this one up because I was just looking for something new, and I just ended up having a lot of fun with it. I really like the theater setting that you got here, especially it's a kind of a run-down movie theater, which unfortunately, I mean, you kind of see that nowadays. It's definitely more run down than what you would see in real life, but nevertheless, I think it's a pretty cool setting, and I'd actually wanted to do this movie as well as The Final Girls for a movie night. If you guys know, on Double Shot JP's YouTube page, we used to do these movie nights. Austin and his brother actually came to a few of them at our friend Matt's house, and we would all take turns picking a double feature, and this was going to be one of my picks, and since we started this podcast, I figured it would be perfect to, shove this onto you, and the reason being is mainly the movies are similar in the fact that they're pretty much reversed with the plots, which of course we'll get into more when we get into The Final Girls, but yeah, Midnight Movie, it's one that I thought was fun when I first saw it. Rewatching it now, I could see it's definitely more of a low-budget movie, and one thing about this movie is I feel like the killer is kind of weak-looking, and I feel like you kind of get that a lot with these new killers and these, meta-horror movies and just new slashers or indie slashers in general. Definitely kind of generic-looking and not that overly creative, but yeah, I enjoy this movie though. I think it's a fun watch. It only runs 82 minutes, and the characters are entertaining enough. You get kind of a little variety there in the theater, and it's just I really like seeing a movie within a movie too, which is what you kind of get with this one. So that's kind of my overall feelings and why I picked it. It was a second time watch for me, being a first time watch for you. I mean, how'd you feel about this one, Austin?
Yeah, I thought this was okay. It really didn't do like a whole lot for me, but I was, somewhat entertained by it. really, like, there really aren't too many like striking negatives I could say about this movie for me. Like, obviously, like, the acting isn't that great and stuff, but that doesn't really bother me. I mean, it's a slasher movie, so what the fuck ever. Um, it's just like there aren't very many like striking positives either. Like, there's just, there are some enjoyable aspects in this movie. I really like the premise of the movie. I love the movie theater setting. One of my favorite settings for a horror movie, in fact. I thought the characters were like semi-fun, but that's kind of like the thing like with this movie is I felt it took itself a bit too seriously.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like it, could have had a lot more fun with itself, being like a low-budget movie with, kind of bad acting like that. I feel like it could have, just kind of went with that and say, hey, we're just gonna make a fun movie. But I just feel like it took itself a bit too seriously. There are some aspects, like story aspects, that really don't go anywhere, and kind of some subplots that make no sense, and like I said, don't go anywhere. But yeah, I mean, like, this, like, I definitely, like, wasn't, like, totally upset that I watched this movie. I did enjoy it a bit. I just wasn't like, wow, like, that was, like, so much fun or anything.
Yeah, and, like I said, watching this one again, I definitely kind of realized that it's definitely a lower quality type of film based on the acting and just kind of the cheap way it's shot. I mean, it's pretty much just in this theater, and some of the effects are, not that great in it. So, definitely this time around, I caught on to that a little bit more, but I still have fun with it. Like I said, at least it only runs 82 minutes, and I kind of see it as just like a fun ride, and that's all you can really take from it. I also like in this movie, the movie within the movie is kind of like it feels like trying to rip off Texas Chainsaw Massacre a little bit, and then I think it's funny because the next movie we have, the movie's ripping off Friday the 13th like blatantly, but I just thought that was kind of interesting with both these movies. But yeah, I could definitely see what you mean. There's definitely not a whole lot going on. I think the setting is probably my favorite part of the film, and just the way it kind of plays out. It's kind of just a different take with the killer kind of coming out and killing the people. But yeah, that's. I feel like I had something else like striking that I wanted to say about this one, but that seems to be it. I kind of looked up this movie too, because I'm surprised not a lot of people really talk about it, and there's really not that much information on it, and it does have kind of a generic title, so you type it in and you kind of get like Midnight Sun and all these like romances coming on, so there's not too much on this movie on the internet that I could find, because I was trying to see if anyone compared this to like The Final Girls or any other movies, but you really don't see much of that. But I was surprised by our poll too that you posted in the group.
Yes,
it was
too.
very much, it was very like split, because I double checked it before we recorded, and I was like, wow, that turned out to be way more split than I thought it was going to be. So, but
yeah, which I'll get on why I think that is later. But yeah, I was definitely surprised by it. But yeah, one thing that like I kind of like look back in hindsight, like after watching the movie, is like I just found it weird how like the movie like sets off like the opening credits is like this like really like metal music, and like usually when I hear that in a horror movie, like I'm thinking like, oh, I mean, this is gonna be pretty, this is gonna be pretty brutal, like Hatchet, Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, like this is gonna be in your face, this is gonna be brutal, and this movie like really isn't really that brutal, really. I mean, like it has some like gory moments in it, but it's not like in your face like hardcore or anything like that.
yeah.
I just like, it doesn't really matter to me if it is hardcore. Like we'll get into when we talk about our next movie, I really don't care. But like if I feel like it set the tone to be that kind of movie, and then it's just not, and I just thought that was weird. And at the end credits, it plays that kind of music too, to makes it seem like you just watched some like really hardcore movie. And it's like, it was kind of a slasher. It wasn't like any gorier than like a bunch of like 80s slashers or anything. I didn't think.
Yeah, and I agree with you. That was one funny thing I noticed is the music is pretty much only the opening credits and the end credits, and you don't really get that as a soundtrack throughout the movie. It's just kind of random, and it reminds me of another indie slasher movie that I watched. It was actually at one of the movie nights. I don't think you were at it, but it was The Orphan Killer. And even the killer kind of has a similar look to the guy in this movie, but that one actually it played the same type of music, and it actually was kind of brutal, so it kind of fit the music a little bit more. I forget what year that one came out, but yeah, overall, there's really not much to say about this movie. I would, recommend checking it out if you're just looking for something fun and you're into these sort of new age slasher movies that are kind of poking fun at older slasher movies as well, because I find that I enjoy movies like that, and that's pretty much why I like this movie. But definitely recommend it if you're into that. It's nothing spectacular, but I still think it's kind of a fun watch.
Yeah. Other things like I noticed, like I mentioned, like subplots that go nowhere. There's like our main character, the main chick, like she keeps like mentioning throughout the entire film how her dad abused her and stuff like that, her and her brother, and like they really don't use that in the movie in like any clever way. Like they could have like somehow like intertwined that with the killer or something like that. Like I don't know, done something clever like that, and they don't really do anything else besides like just bring it up. And it's like, it's just kind of useless information because it serves no purpose in the film, actually. So it's just I mean, it happened. I'm not sure why we're bringing it up.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's a few throwaway lines, I think, throughout the film. I can't remember exactly because I watched this one about a week ago, but there's definitely a few. I think it's just trying to set her up as being someone who the reason she doesn't really like horror movies is because of that somehow, and then it's also kind of trying to make her out to be the stronger female character. Kind of, I guess the final girl has to have some sort of tragic background, but I definitely agree. You really don't get too much with that, and I feel like that's also kind of a typical thing with these sort of low budget movies. They try to throw in a bunch of subplots just kind of make it more interesting, but at the end of the day, it would be more interesting if the plots actually went somewhere. But I noticed that there's a lot of movies that kind of throw in those sort of generic, overused background stories, but don't actually give you any background.
Yeah, there definitely is. And then like the whole thing with like the detective the whole story with the detective made no sense at all. He's like 5 years after it happened, and she's still investigating, and like he's like, oh yeah, he'll show up at this movie, at the showing of this movie. Like, why would you assume that?
In reality, it's ridiculous if a detective actually went to see a midnight showing of a bad movie.
Yeah,
just
thinking the guy was gonna show up.
Yeah, it's like, just admit that you wanted to watch the movie, dude.
Yeah. I honestly, like, the thing of it too, like, honestly, like, I was actually, like, maybe a bit more entertained by the movie that was playing in the movie than the actual movie.
I know, it's funny because the movie within the movie is so bad and over the top, and it seems like it drags on forever.
Yeah.
Like, you have that scene with those two girls sitting at the van waiting on their friend, and it just seems like that goes on until the end of the actual film, and they're like, we better go see what's going on. He hasn't been back in a while, and it reminds me kind of how in Scream, Halloween is obviously playing for way too long. Like, that's kind of what the same vibe I kind of get from this movie, but yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was like the characters were more fun, like that one chick who was like high out of her mind, and she was just like acting all retarded and stuff like that. Like, I thought that was pretty entertaining. Like you said, it was a ripoff of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So I thought that was interesting. So I
Mhm.
mean, like, yeah, I was actually when I was on stream, I was like, oh, this actually isn't all that bad. This is actually kind of entertaining.
I know, I always feel that way when I see a movie within a movie. I always kind of want to see what the full version of that fake movie would have been.
Yeah, except for when you watch Demons. When you watch that, the movie within the movie is, like, god-awful. Oh, it's so bad. And I guess some of the movies in, like, Popcorn are bad, too, that they're watching. They're just, like, about, like, it's like Attack of the Giant Wasp or something like that. It's like
Oh, Lord.
it's like movies like that.
I don't even like regular movies like that.
No, I don't. That's why I was like, yeah, I don't want to watch those movies. Yeah, I thought the ending was the very ending was a little flat too. Like I was like, yeah, it's whatever.
Yeah, I actually had forgot how it ended. As I said, I'd only seen it one time before, and it was probably 2 or so years ago. And I was kind of curious because I forgot the ending, and it's very just abrupt, I would say. It's not very. It's supposed to be kind of this heroic moments, but just the way it plays out is kind of right to the points, and then it just ends, and that's all you really get.
Yeah, I guess like the kills throughout the entire movie too, like they're decent. There's not one kill that like gets like super memorable or anything like that either.
Mm-hmm.
I mean they're decent, I think though.
Yeah, and like you said, it could have probably afforded to be a little more gory and bloody. With, I mean, I feel like with these low budget movies too, I feel like a lot of times that gives them more advantage to just throw all the fake, even if it looks fake. Like I feel like these movies usually are pretty high on the gore and blood, even if no matter how ridiculous. And this movie really doesn't do that too much.
Yeah,
but it's not bad or anything.
Yeah, I guess on the second hand, I'm kind of glad they didn't, because I hate when it has like shitty CGI, fake-looking blood or something like that. Yeah, I'd definitely rather have this than than any of that shit. But yeah, you have anything else to say about it?
No, I think we pretty much covered everything in it. I mean, not too much to say on it.
Alright, so moving on to our next film, which we said was The Final Girls from 2015, and the synopsis on IMDb is a young woman grieving the loss of her mother, a famous scream queen from the 1980s, finds herself pulled into the world of her mom's most famous movie. Reunited, the women must fight off the film's maniacal killer. So, yes, instead of the killer coming out of the movie, the characters go into the movie, and yeah, the killer's killing them that way. So, yeah, I know this was a first-time watch for you, you said. This was a second-time watch for me.
It's actually a second-time watch for me.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Oh, I know you said that you hadn't watched this movie before, I think.
I definitely watched it before, but I didn't really remember a whole lot about it. Yeah, it was kind of, because I remember everyone was real hype on it, and I watched it, and I don't think I was like, oh, that was pretty good, but it was kind of forgettable for me, so I wanted to give it a rewatch kind of for that reason.
Yeah, I think I'd watched it like 3 years ago or so, it's been a while, and I didn't really remember it all too well either, so, yeah, what'd you think about it?
This time around, I actually enjoyed it a lot more than the first time. I think I was kind of influenced by people saying how it's, it's not R-rated. That's like the big complaint everyone has, and I feel like I kind of noticed that a little bit more going into it that first time. But watching it now, I also feel like I kind of paid attention a little bit more to the story, and I really, really enjoyed it. I mean, I enjoy the main character, the main girl you're following, and I like how this one kind of has sort of a, it's supposed to be a horror comedy once again, and but it also throws in this little bit of drama with, or just sadness in general with the girl. Obviously, her mother from the movie has passed away in real life, and it's actually got some sad moments in it, and it's kind of throws you for a loop because, like I said, it's a horror comedy, but then you also got these really upsetting type of moments throughout. In general, it's obviously a way higher budget film than Midnight Movie is, and it definitely shows. Just looks better. The killer, I think, is just as lame looking as the killer in Midnight Movie, but for different reasons. In Midnight Movie, I feel like the dude's kind of trying a little too hard, and then in this movie, it's like just a dude with a very generic looking mask, and it's not really scary at all. But overall, I had a pretty fun time with this one. The movie within a movie, I kind of think is, I know it's supposed to be funny and over the top on purpose to kind of spoof 80s slashers, especially Friday the 13th, but I almost find it to be a little too over the top and not realistic at all to those movies. It's just not, it doesn't really feel like a spoof. It just feels like it's a little too, like I said, over the top. But other than that, I think it's a pretty fun movie. So what do you think about it?
Yeah, yeah, I have to agree. Like, I found this pretty damn enjoyable. I think it's actually a pretty well-made movie too. I think I would agree with you too, in somewhat about it being too over the top. But I think like that I have more of a problem with that like towards the ending. But yeah, I mean, I thought like there were actually some really clever ideas in this movie and some really cool stuff. I really enjoyed. I wouldn't say I really enjoyed, but I enjoyed the characters as a whole. I really enjoyed our main character. Yes, like, this is PG-13. I know, like, again, like you said, that is the main complaint with this movie. Like I just said, I really don't care about blood and gore and all that. It does suffer in the fact that, like, the kills in this movie really aren't too fantastic. Like, there really isn't, like, anything memorable about them either. But like that like to me has never been like, I know like some people were just like love to hate on PG-13 horror movies, but it's never really been a problem for me. I guess like the only ones I would say that for like dumb PG-13 horror movies like Slender Man and shit like that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Slender Man is PG-13. I don't know what the hell would make it rated R, but in fact, I'm 100% it's PG-13. But anyways, like, yeah, like, I just thought this was a really enjoyable time overall. Yeah, I do, like I said, like, there's a lot of, like, really clever stuff I thought this film actually did. Like, I don't know, I think this might be more clever to me for some reason. But, like, I really like how they, like, do, like, the whole killer's backstory, like, as they're actually watching the movie. Like, that's how they reveal the killer's backstory.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I thought that was pretty cool, because I've never seen that done before. And, like you said, like, it's, it is parodying, a lot of 80s slashers, mainly, Friday the 13th. Even has the same score as Friday the 13th, or the chant, whatever you want to call it. Which I don't know how they did that.
I think it's like slightly different, but not. I mean, there's no difference really. I think like they had to have made it a little bit different, but not to where you can even tell. It's just a total ripoff, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought that was funny, because I've heard that in other movies, but that was movies like Harry Manfredini actually like did the score for, so I was like, yeah, that's why they did it. But yeah, I just thought that was really cool how they did that in movie theater. And one thing they do will say about this, and kind of with the previous film too, they don't really explain how the killer comes out of the movie really, or how the people actually get sucked into this movie. It just kind of happens. So I guess, they don't even try to explain. I mean, that's not really a problem for me. I just kind of noted it.
Yeah, I feel like in Midnight Movie, it's the whole beginning thing with the director having that breakdown and all that, it's supposed to be like kind of a supernatural thing where he's been sucked in and that's his like way out to get his revenge or whatever. And then I don't know, this movie definitely doesn't really tell you much. You're only in the theater at the beginning parts, and then all of a sudden it's like, boom, they're in there, and it's definitely, obviously, there's really no explanation. It's just to kind of get this character to be with her mother again, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no, supernatural element that really tells you why or how.
Yeah, but I really love the premise of being sucked into a movie like that. Especially a movie like this, like an 80s slasher, like a summer camp type thing or whatever the heck they're at. But yeah, I thought there was some really clever writing in this one. Like I thought there was like one line where one of the dudes is talking to the dude from the movie, and his notes like, "Oh man, the writing was so bad" or whatever. I thought that was funny, of course, just parodying, how bad the writing used to be for those movies back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I thought that was cool. I liked too how they did kind of like that trick where like when the mother says like the dialogue for the flashback, like it sends them back into the flashback again.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was pretty cool as well. But yeah, what you have to say about everything so far?
I mean, yeah, you pretty much said it all. I mean, it's a pretty fun. I had a lot more fun with it this time around. I like the characters a lot more, and I wouldn't say it's like laugh out loud comedy or anything like that, but there are some just moments that kind of make you smile because they're perfect nods to just older films. There's a lot of the way it's shot. I think it's shot really nice, especially this end scene involving the girl and her mother, which is also a pretty sad scene. As I said, I was getting actually kind of sad watching this movie, and I feel like that could be an aspect as to why people might not rewatch this one a whole lot, is because it's got that emotional element to it that you're not really used to, especially in a fun slasher film. But overall, yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed it. I think it's clever, and it's one that I would definitely go back to. At this point, probably a little bit more than Midnight Movie. I think that one's got rewatchability too, but this one, just for the cleverness alone, I really dug it this time around.
Yeah, like you said, it is a pretty well shot movie overall. Like there were like some aspects I felt could have been stronger about the movie. Like, overall, I'd say the thing between the main character and her mom, like in the movie, is done, pretty well with her, seeing her dead mom back again in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was done pretty well, but I feel like it could have been stronger, and that would have made, it could have been done better, and that would have made the, ending, what happens to her a little bit more, even more, sad, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's done pretty well, because, it is pretty sad when the, what happens to the mother and everything. So,
Yeah, I think for me, it's like the concept. I kind of picture like if someone I knew died, and then I somehow got sucked into a video or movie, and they are in it. I think that would be kind of terrifying to me. Like, I don't think I would want that. In this movie, it's kind of, a touching type of thing, but it kind of just, the whole concept just freaks me out. I think it would be kind of depressing, and so I kind of like that element to it. I think that alone kind of sells it for me a lot more.
yeah, I forget what the heck I was gonna say. Oh yeah. Yeah, I just another thing like I didn't really care for too much was like they like make up like all these rules and stuff, like how they have to do certain things in the movie, and like I just feel like I got kind of carried away with all that. Like, oh, like if we do this, like then this will trigger this to happen. And it's like I just thought it got a little bit too convoluted and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's like over exaggerated to the top for sure.
Yeah, and then like the end fight scene between the killer and main character, I really didn't care for, because that's what gets over the top for me. Because it's like this is like more like the Matrix and not
Yeah,
and not
slasher.
80s slasher. Like I've never seen that in any 80s slasher ever. Like, slow motion dodging the machete like that, ever.
I think that was once again supposed to be like a take on the ending of Friday the 13th, that it's like, that's not how slashers go.
Yeah, I don't think it works very well for that. But overall, like, I did love how the movie ended too, with them, still being stuck in the in the sequel, which takes place at a hospital, which was almost kind of a nod to like Halloween 2,
Yeah.
which was cool.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
overall, pretty fun movie.
I would agree.
So, you got anything else to add before we rate these?
I think I am good.
And I found out my phone does have a calculator.
Whoa.
It was just like in a weird like folder, like in like the where the apps are. It was like stored away in a folder. It was like said like essentials, had like a clock, and then like the calculator. I'm like, oh, that's dumb.
It's like your phone. It's like the phone company wanted you to believe that lie that teacher said, where you wouldn't have a calculator your whole life. It wanted to make it a little bit difficult for you.
Yeah. Don't get me started on. You will have a calculator. All right. So with Midnight Movie, you go first.
All right, so not much to say about that one that hasn't already been said. I mean, I think it's definitely a fun movie. I could see what Austin means, where it could have amped it up a little bit more, but for me, I think it's a pretty easy watch. It's something you can rewatch and just kind of put on in the background, or just put on days where you don't really feel like watching anything too serious or anything like that, and you just kind of want to have a fun time with it. The killer I thought was kind of lame. I didn't even mention this, but he does this like limpy thing with his foot that doesn't even really make much sense. Just him like drag it. I don't think that like really works that way, but so I thought he was kind of lame. I mean, the characters I thought were pretty fun, and kills were decent, not fantastic. And overall, I love the setting. The like I said, the old rundown theater type of setting. I really kind of dug that, but not a fantastic movie. Definitely, you could see the low budgetness to it, but there's way worse stuff out there, and I do still recommend this one if you enjoy movies kind of, in this category. So I gave Midnight Movie a 7 out of 10.
Alright, so, for me, like I said, I thought this was okay. I thought this was, I'm not upset that I watched it, so that's at least a good thing. There were some, entertaining aspects to this movie, but overall, I felt like it definitely could have been better and more entertaining. I gave it a 5.5 out of 10. So,
Damn.
just a little bit above average for me, but I wouldn't not recommend it for slasher fans. It is a slasher, and it is not bad, so, yeah, I would say, at least check it out. So, Final Girls. What's your rate that?
Alright, so Final Girls, definitely a more well-written story, and obviously higher budget film. I really, like I said, I really got kind of more invested in the characters and the storyline to this one than I had the first time I watched it, where, the first time I enjoyed it, but I didn't really, I just wasn't nearly as invested as I was this time around. I was kind of shocked by how much fun I had with this movie. It has its over-the-top moments where it's trying a little too hard to be spoofy, but other than that, I don't have a problem with it. Kind of like Austin said, I really don't care. I mean, PG-13, I find that I'm starting to notice the difference more and more as I get older between PG-13 and R-rated movies, where before I never really cared. But when it comes to gore, if that's your only problem is the lack of gore, then that's not a problem for me, because I usually don't even pay attention to kills that much. That's why when we review slashers, I never really even comment on kills, because I kind of honestly forget about them. So definitely not an issue. And Final Girls, definitely recommend this one as well. I give it an 8.5 out of 10.
Wow. Okay, so yeah, I actually thought I was gonna be higher than you on this one, but that
Oh,
is not the case. Um, yeah, I mean, like I said, this is a pretty enjoyable movie. It definitely has some issues with it. Nothing about this is like too memorable for me, but it definitely has its charm, and it is definitely an enjoyable watch. And it has some laughs, has some pretty emotional moments in it, and it is a really cool premise, and it is done pretty well. So I gave it an 8 out of 10.
nice. Very nice.
So, yeah, for Midnight Movie, ended up with a combined score of 12.5, and this movie has a combined score of 16.5, so, yes, Final Girls gets the win, which I think, surprisingly, I was actually really surprised by this. I think Midnight Movie actually won in the
Yeah,
poll.
by like 1 point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was like totally expecting Final Girls to just completely destroy. Like even before I'd watched the movie, because I know like Final Girls is a pretty popular, you know, movie throughout the horror community. So I hadn't even heard of Midnight Movie before. So I was
yeah,
like,
exactly. I completely agree. I mean, obviously the mainstream audience, I'm sure, would probably take Final Girls easily over Midnight Movie, but well, yeah, when you first posted that poll, I clicked on it and I was like, holy crap! Like Midnight Movie already had 3 votes and Final Girls had like 0 or 1 or something like that, and uh, I really just think it's a matter of the amount of fun that people have with these movies and the type of movies that they like. I feel like Midnight Movie is more of just the fun, typical slasher film, and then I find that Final Girls, like I said, has that sort of emotional aspect added into it with the mother drama, and then it also is just a lot more story driven than it is a slasher, and it's PG-13, obviously. So if you're someone who likes your slashers and you like all the gore and stuff, you're probably not going to like that one as much as Midnight Movie. So I kind of saw where people were coming from on that.
yeah. So that's why I was gonna say. That's why I think Midnight Movie won is because of the gore factor. Because there's even people in the comments saying, "I'll take the rated R movie." So
Mhm.
I was like, yeah, I mean, it's that's the reason why there. So I know some people really like. I mean, some people think like have Final Girls up as one of their favorite slashers ever. I know that. I know that. I've heard that. But again, some people hate on it because of its rating and doesn't
Mhm.
have a lot of gore. Which like, PG-13 slasher is kind of weird. But for this movie, it didn't really make a difference to me.
Yeah, like I wouldn't even look at this one as a slasher if I was thinking of my favorite slashers of all time. I really don't think this movie doesn't really come to mind. Obviously, it is a play on being a slasher, but I kind of just look at it more for the story
Hmm.
alone. So, like I said, I could see why the slasher lovers would hate on it, and people who are more just invested in the characters would love it. So, definitely an interesting split with these two.
All right, so that is going to wrap it up for this episode. Let us know what you guys thought of this episode. Uh, feedback is always appreciated. Next episode, we have a special Shutter themed episode. We not even sure what the hell we're gonna do with that yet, but we'll discuss it after the show. So. Yeah, it'll be 2 Shudder movies that we'll pick, that have a similar theme. So, um, and each of us will pick a movie. So I thought that would be pretty fun to do.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's what you have to look forward to. So, yeah, I guess we will. I always say see you guys. We don't see anybody.
I always say
Am I supposed to say?
I do the same thing on my YouTube channel. I'm always like, as always, I'll talk to you guys or see you guys later. And I'm like, I'm not really, no one's talking to me or seeing me. So I guess,
Well,
uh,
if I was like, we'll catch you guys
yeah, there you go.
next
That
episode,
sounds
because
cool. That makes it
that's
sound cool.
yeah, because it's like catch is just like you'll hear us or something. You
Yeah.
know,
Catch you guys on the flip. There we go.
I'm just gonna say catch you guys in the next episode. I think
Okay.
that's a little overdoing it. But
All right.
all right, we'll catch you guys in the next episode. Peace.
Peace.